Hogstye.
Hello, and welcome to the Hogside. It is your host, Alex Zeese, with you. We have Steve, we have Jamal. We have a big show. It was the first preseason game. We're going to recap that, but I announced it on Twitter, so it's not like we're surprising anybody with this. Jamal has gotten an offer to move to bigger and better things, so I'm going to turn it over to Jamal, though, because this is going to be his last show as a regular host here, and we wanted to let him have a proper send-off. So, Jamal, I'm going to give you the floor. Go ahead.
Well, it's so crazy, and I talked to you all throughout the week and gave you all an idea of what I had going on. And long story short, I got an offer to, I guess, continue like the journalist side or the hobby that I got, and have a opportunity from a contractual standpoint to kind of continue this career. And it was an opportunity where I felt like it was really good, just at least to see where things go, and if I want to give this a hard shot. It is what it is. But back to us and understanding, my opportunity, I had to kind of make some decisions, and this was probably like the toughest decision. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, bro. I was scared to even tell y'all, like, this is something, like, when I tell you all, and you all know this for some time, and it's even kind of shown throughout over the course of the years, like, I tell people even in job interviews, like, I'm a loyal individual. I don't even know what, like, anything other than loyalty is, and it's business, it's personal, everything. And with the Hogstye, understanding where I came from, this is my last show in terms of like full time and everything to that nature. And in 2016, I was listening to you all, and maybe 2015 is when I started. I don't remember when I started, but I was listening to you all, and all of a sudden, like, I started mentioning you all on Twitter because I was listening, and then I got a DM like, "Hey, we're looking for a co-host. Do you want to try out?" Hell yeah, I want to try out. So I'm on this thing, and I remember the week we were getting ready for a Packers game. I gave my tryout, and all these things happened, and ultimately, long story short, I got the opportunity to work with you all, and it's been 6 years, and even like after my initial my initial branch into this thing, shout out to Tariq, I said Tariq, Willie T, sorry, Willie T, he gave me my first spot, but I worked with Willie T, and then I worked with the Hogstye, both simultaneously, and the Hogstye was giving me the opportunity to write with you all and do the podcast, give me a voice. Like, I didn't even think about podcasting at all until you all reached out to me, and all this to say, and it's probably going to be lengthy, but just overall, the opportunity that you all gave me started something in me that I didn't even know I had. And you all giving me the floor to even cover teams and cover training camp and cover the Washington Redskins at the time and Washington football team previously and Washington Commanders. Like, I didn't realize how much I appreciated that and how much, like, you all did for me and in the moment, but like realizing everything all in one instance, like this show, the Hogstye, is something that I will forever be grateful for, and I'm truly appreciative of everything that you all got for me. And it's like, for me, a person who's genuinely appreciative of everything in life. That's why it's hard for me, because I don't really. Oh Lord Jesus Christ. These are situations where you never really want to take anything for granted, and even when it comes to hobbies, like something as simple as covering football, something that means something little to somebody else, but for a person like us, football is something where it's much more than something very little. I'll forever be grateful for, the platform and the opportunity that you all gave me. And Steve, we like the political stuff, like that never got in the way of us as a person, like from a personal standpoint. You've been there for me. And in moments where you asked me to do things from a Hogstyle standpoint, to look out for the Hogstyle brand and company, I was there to cover things on Washington side, and I didn't give a damn what we disagreed with from a political standpoint. That had nothing to do with a personal side, and all political doesn't mean anything when it comes to personal in life. Like life is bigger than something as simple as that, and it showed throughout this show that we all cared about each other, and we all cared about the well-being of each other. We know that everybody was going through something throughout our phases, the 6 years in life, and I'm truly appreciative, and I'm glad that I've been able to keep composure, because I had a split second
you wavered
where it crept in there. Yeah, but I'm strong, and I appreciate it. But I say all this to say, like, and it's hard for me to like have a strong message, but I just want everybody to know, like, it doesn't matter where you are in life. Like, understand that, there are people along the way, and there are moments along the way and situations along the way in your life's journey that you will never, and you should never ever forget where you came from. And I'm not even sitting here saying that I'm like, I have tons of work to do, and I'm never going to like ever leave the Hogstyle. Like, this is my thing. This is our thing. But in terms of like just understanding an opportunity, I'm looking forward to seeing what I got going on, but I will never ever and stop being appreciative of the opportunity and the moment that in the situation that you all provided me, and the platform that you all provided me, because I wouldn't even be in the situation I am without Steve, without Alex. And this is like one of the greatest things that could have happened to me. I'm truly grateful, and it showed through my emotions when we got denied through training camp. And I'm not even going to bring that up like that. Like, I truly understood how important this was for me because of what you all done for me. And I'm sad, and I thought about this the entire week, and I was scared to tell you all, but I'm so appreciative of how you all understood, my perspective, but also that nothing is going to get in the way of everything that's happened over the past 6 years, and I'm thankful.
Yeah, listen, Jamal, I mean, we're very happy for you. We've appreciated everything you've done for us over a number of years. I wish we'd found you in the beginning, to be honest, because we started this a couple years before you joined with some other folks who are gone as well. But you've been great. You've been nothing but honest and straightforward, and a great contributor. And in terms of the politics and stuff, I mean, we've never let any of that stuff. Alex and I disagree vehemently on many things, and it doesn't.
Oh yeah, we've had arguments for like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and then it's like, all right,
It's whatever. It's we're done. On to the next thing.
It just goes to show that I think personal relationships ought to trump those kind of things at every time.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm ecstatic for you. I don't like to lose you, because the show is better with you than without you. But I'm ecstatic that you're getting a paid gig. And listen, I don't mind promoting his gig. He's going to SB Nation. I don't mind telling people where you can find him. You're doing the revival of Hogs Haven, right?
Correct. The Hogs Haven podcast bring revival of Hogs Haven, so a new iteration.
Which won't be hard because you still have hogs in the name. It'll be very easy for you to transition.
I have to make them edits when I say the Hogstyle. I gotta like restart the whole intro.
Say it. I know you will.
I know.
But best of luck to you in your future,
look,
Jamal. And don't forget about us little people when you're a big name, reporter, sports reporter.
Yeah.
Steve and I have had this conversation, and we probably had it before you came on at one point, and we had it recently, of course. I've kind of embraced that this podcast, like, when it's at its best, we're going to find people who want to do this. We're going to help them develop some skills in terms of podcasting, in terms of presenting themselves on air or writing, because Steve's... for those of you who don't know, Steve is a great writer and editor. I'm on this side. I like doing the podcasting side. I'm a terrible writer. But we are willing to help other people with both sides. That's kind of been what we do. And I've used two different analogies. One is we are like a AAA, AA for that world of, doing sports media, or we're like the second city of this. You come here, you can develop some skills, and maybe you go on to SNL, maybe you don't. By the way, I've gone to a lot of second city things. I went to a second city thing years ago, and I saw two guys named Steve Carell.
There's
and
about
I believe
5
Steve
people who
Colbert
know what
was
you're
there
talking
as well.
about, Alex. Just so you know.
There's a lot more
I know
people
what
who know
Second
what
City
Second
is.
City is.
It's the farm team for Saturday Night
Yeah.
Live, traditionally. That's what Second City is.
Right. It's one of many. But there's also, for every guy who's a superstar there, there's like 20 that wash out. Just like
Just
with
like the
minor league
Hogsty.
baseball. So, yeah, just like the Hogsty. Because we've had guys who came in before you, Jamal, who did not work out, and we won't. I'm not going
here
to
for
bash
that.
any of them. They were. I don't think we've ever had an issue with any of these guys. Who, Sean was here. Robbie was here for a while. Robbie tried to move on, and then he got sidetracked by having
dare
a
him.
family and kids and all that stuff. Yeah, real life is more important than having fun. That was Robbie's
Well, listen, I mean,
mantra.
I'm
Yeah.
immensely proud of what we built here. That's the reason why we keep
Oh,
doing it.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
even really a big fan of this team anymore, but I enjoyed the work more so than anything. And,
yeah.
I'm just really happy, Jamal, that that you're able to continue this in a paid capacity. That's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very happy that you're.
You'll be
getting
one of these
this
guys.
shot.
I haven't
think
done it
it's
a lot
outstanding.
recently for a variety of reasons, but you're one of these guys I'll have to contact to beg to come on the show every once in a while.
Stop it. Not at all. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I just wanted people to understand too, because I know I didn't do my initial speech justice, because like, I didn't go in detail, and I can talk for 20 more minutes if I could, but I think for anybody that's listening to this, and anybody that is looking for, I don't know what Steve, and I don't even want you all to talk about it right now, but I don't know what Steve or Alex's plans are in terms of a third co-host. I don't know. And please don't say anything. Y'all can talk about that later, but I just want everybody that's listening to understand, like, the Hogsty is a place where I still remember when I tried to do that solo podcast, and Alex gave me tons of notes, and that was 100% honesty. And I'm like, damn, I didn't know I was that bad. Or I didn't know it was that many issues and all these things. And I was early on trying to do a solo podcast. And like, Alex was the one who told me what to be aware of. Alex was the guy who helped shape me from an audio standpoint and just a present standpoint of being a more effective podcaster. Steve was the guy on the writing side. If you were a person looking to write for a team, and if it happens to be your favorite team and you're looking for a space to write, the Hogsty has and all this. Steve is the guy who's here from an editing standpoint, here from giving you what a deadline could be, what it can seem like. Like, they're shaping you up to understand what journalism is like and what media is like. And I didn't know anything when I got here, and I've been here for 6 years. Like, that is something that I was at, for reference, for those who don't know, Steve know, Alex know, I've been in the government. My very first government job was 7 years. Like, 6 years in podcasting for one spot, 7 years in government for my very first job. Understand, like, this is something where you don't even know how much time goes by because you like what you're doing. This is the space for that. So don't ever think, like, if you see somebody leaving or you see some type of discourse, these guys are really good and we're all good. And if you fit in, you're going to know that you fit in right away because they're going to make sure that you're welcomed. And I truly appreciate it. Like, they've done a ton of things.
It boggles my mind that we've been doing this long. I really thought we were going to do that very first show, Alex. It was so bad. I don't know if we ever even published it.
Oh, we did.
That
It
was
a
terrible.
4-hour show
But
that was
I-
supposed to
Oh,
be
wow.
on.
I didn't even know it was that long.
Yeah,
Well, so that was when it was Steve, myself,
John Worrell.
Robbie, John,
Sean.
and
Sean.
Yeah. So
it
we
was
had
way.
five
It was just
people
terrible.
speaking for
But
4 hours.
but I never thought that we would get to the point where we're kind of a established Washington media. I never thought that we would have any of that.
I mean, yes. So I still don't think of us as that way because I like
I
being
believe
an
me. I
outsider.
love being the rebel.
but-
That's all. I'm all about that.
You and I are both, like, despite our political differences, we're very
very much.
anti-authoritarian in that way. Yeah. Or anti-establishment.
Don't make
maybe.
me conform, because I probably won't. Anyway, Jamal, so yeah, don't get me started on another rant. But yeah, best of luck to you in your future, man. You're welcome back here anytime. Certainly we'll have you on every once in a while to talk about the team and whatnot. So best of luck to you, and certainly keep everybody informed about your future.
Absolutely. Everybody's going to know where the Hogsty is. Wherever I go, it's the Hogsty.
Keep those other guys honest, too. Those SB Nation guys, because they started out as rebels, and they've
become corporate media, which just irritates me to no end.
Yeah, you don't want them to become too conformist, right? They're supposed to be underdogs like we started out.
Hey, I'm here for it, man. Look, I'm a everything, my words, my writing, my audio is you'll hear the semblances of what the Hogsty branded.
So Jamal's going to be writing there and doing a show, just so everyone knows. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Let's get into football, man. We transition, man. I truly appreciate everything. Let's transition. Let's talk some football.
Right.
And talk about this.
Steve and I will talk more about the
on another day
show, on another episode. We're not going to bog this whole one down with that. All right, so let us change it up and talk about the things that went on during the Washington football team / Commanders / Redskins / Boston Braves first preseason
Boston Braves,
game.
Man, you're going back.
That's a throwback.
If we're going to throw all their names in there, I'm going to throw all their names in there. And they're going to start wearing blue again because that's what.
Really, I didn't know that.
Season.
Leave it to Alex to know something like
blue,
that.
Red, and brown.
All right, look, here's the stats because I think these are actually pretty relevant.
Yes, throw those weird preseason
Sam Howell,
stats at me.
9 for 16. Let's start with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, 10 for 13, right. 74 yards, no touchdowns.
So inaccurate.
We'll get to that. Quarterback rating of 89.9. Taylor Heineke, 4 for 9, 21 yards, 1 interception. Quarterback rating of 12. That's rating. That might be the ESPN rating. But regardless, Sam Howell, 9 for 16, 143 yards, sacked twice. Rushing, Jonathan Williams led today, 5 for 31, average 6.2. Brian Robinson, 6 for 26, 4.3 yards per attempt. Sam Howell, 3 for 19. Jarrett Patterson, 3 for 15. Taylor Heineke was 2 for 14. Kyrick McGowan, 1 for 9. Reggie Bonifant, 2 for 5. And way down at the bottom was Antonio Gibson, 4 for 2, which is an average of half. Wah, wah, wah. Receiving, Alex Erickson was a big winner, 2 for 54. Dax Milne, 2 for 30. Kyrick McGowan, 1 for 27. Markin Michelle, 1 for 17. Terry McLaurin, 1 for 16. J.D. McKissick, 1 for 15. And a bunch of others had. I'm not going to read all these. The one that's two that are relevant, Armani Rogers, 3 for 12. And Jahan Dotson, 0 for 0, is also relevant. And that is, I'm not going to bother with Carolina's stats because who cares? It's a preseason game. And then Antonio Gibson had the fumble. The leading tackler was David Mayo. There was Jeremy Reeves had that sack on the safety blitz. David Bada and Jacob Panusik, I guess. Is that right? Panusik split a sack. And then Tress Way, who is everybody's hero, was 3 for 136. So I just blew it. But Tress Way did not outpunt the offense today in that stats.
No, he did not. He did not. That's all right.
I didn't even notice it.
It's preseason, Steve. We're still getting into
I just love it. The days when the punter outpunts the entire offense.
I know you do. All right, so
I know where we need to start.
Go ahead.
All right.
I know Carson Wentz is clearly the number one item for most people. But ladies and gentlemen, Antonio Gibson fumbled again.
Not only that, he's averaged half yard a carry. He picked up where he left off last year.
He did not look good.
That fumble, when he and I told people earlier today, I get it. Sometimes fumbles are fluke, and if you look at the replay, like he's trying to brace for the ground. He's just bracing for contact with the ground. But at the end of the day, as a running back, knowing the position that you're in, I'm not saying that he's thinking about that in the game, because when you're in the game, it's all about being productive. Like you're not thinking about, hey man, I know what my story is. I have to be extra careful of the football. Like you're just playing. Like thoughts they all go away But in that very instant, in your first preseason game back, and you brace for contact with the ground, and somebody is smart enough on the defensive side to poke that ball out, everything that you've been trying to push away from your head comes right back, and you fumble and get emotional on the sideline, which he did. Struggled to shake it off. An offensive lineman, I think it was Charles Leno, had to go to him like, bruh, shake it off. You getting back in the game. I felt bad for him, but it's also a bigger indication of, who's behind them and who can they trust more. So, fellas, I know Carson Wentz is a big story, but Antonio Gibson fumbling, that's probably going to be bigger than what we can imagine.
I don't think his vision, on-field vision, has improved at all based on what I saw today. We're recording this on Saturday right after the game. I've always thought that Antonio Gibson's biggest problem as a running back is vision. And what I mean by that is you see like a running back who's been doing it forever. Brian Robinson's a good example. Zero hesitation, knows exactly what he's doing, knows exactly where he's going. Antonio Gibson has never had that. Never had that. And he certainly has athletic ability and talent. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's an NFL player, but I just don't think he is a long-term starting running back. I really don't. And, yeah, I mean, they made a point to say on the broadcast crew, I was able to watch the Washington broadcast through our NFL Plus premium. They made a point of saying he's a 1,000-yard running back. But if you watch last year, I mean, he hit the 1,000 yards at the bitter end of the year, and it was only because of that last game. I think it was the Giants, maybe. The only
really
way he crawled up to 4 yards a carry was that last game. He was averaging like 3 to 3.5. It just wasn't effective. And I thought we saw a lot about Brian Robinson today. He was effective. And granted, he came in, the second, third series or whatever. I mean, it's preseason. But he looked like a legit running back to me, and Antonio Gibson didn't.
Yeah, Robinson, no doubt, he was hitting gaps well. He was getting up the middle well, finding where the blocks were going to be, which is something Gibson has struggled with. Yeah, Robinson made an impact. Those first two plays, I think he got, it was a 10-yard run and then a 10-yard screen pass or something like that.
That's exactly where I was going to go. Yep, they fed him back-to-back plays, Alex.
Yeah, and he looked good on both those plays. And then he got a touchdown to end that drive.
He was 2 for 15
in
with receiving. I didn't read that before.
Yeah. And, when he was brought on, I know he wasn't a big receiver in college. Like, that wasn't his primary purpose.
It's more the Alabama offense more than anything.
Yeah, and we've seen that with other guys from Alabama, too, I feel like. Alabama has a history. We don't throw to running backs, and then you find out their running backs can catch.
Alabama's running like a high school offense in terms of complexity. They just have better players.
Yes. Exactly. Hey, when you get 25-star guys on,
exactly.
Offense,
you ain't gotta do too
much.
Still
do whatever you want. Yeah,
you
don't have to be.
And the other guy, as long as we're talking about running backs, might as well start there. I was also impressed with Jonathan Williams.
Sure. Jonathan Williams looked good. McKissick looked great. That one play where he had the catch and then he made the spin.
But we kind of know what
20-something yards.
He looked like.
Yeah. Well, he is coming back from injury, so.
Williams, and I was pretty sure Brian Robinson was going to be pretty good. Williams is a guy that I really had no idea about, that I thought he looked good. He acquitted himself. Well, here's what I look for in preseason, for me. People are going to play at various stages of these games, based on the depth chart and all of that. What I look for is people who outplay their spot on the depth chart. When you're in the game, do you look better than the people you are around? That's what I look for most in a general sense. And guys who did like Armani Rogers, we'll get to him. I wasn't ready for that. Yep. I wasn't ready for Jonathan Williams to look as solid as he was. Dax Milne outkicked the coverage a little bit to steal a copyright from someone else. But Jonathan Williams, I thought, to me, he's playing himself on the team, and it wasn't lost on me that Jarrett Patterson was the last guy in.
They put
another guy who did that, Kirk McGowan. Number 83, third stringer, but he outplayed pretty well.
Sorry, Jamal, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, you're good. I was going to say they put Jonathan Williams in, and this is continuous of the Antonio Gibson conversation. Brian Robinson got in as early as he did and seeing as much action as he did with the starters because they were putting the starters away after the drive that Brian Robinson was in there. And Brian Robinson got in with the starters. He looked like he belonged. Like he saw the holes that they were giving him. He hit the holes. Now, granted, his biggest play was a well-designed run. It was a power play with the interior tackles. I say interior tackles, interior linemen pulling and creating a hole up the middle. So it wasn't hard to hit that gap. But in the same vein, he hit it with explosion. He got to the second level really quickly. You like that, but also when him having that exposure with the first stringers, Antonio Gibson comes in with the second string, and not only does he come in with the second string, when he fails on like a 3rd and 4 or something like that, or 3rd and 3, and he loses yards, if not, it was a no gain, I can't remember, or maybe it was even shorter, like maybe 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 1, and they lose yards, they go for it. But they don't use Antonio Gibson again. They use Jonathan Williams, and that's where I was trying to get to. Like, Jonathan Williams had opportunity with this second stringers, and they benched Antonio Gibson on 4th down, or sat him down. I'm not going to say bench because that's a stronger word, but they sat him down in favor of Jonathan Williams to see what Jonathan can do in the situation. Jonathan got the first down and maybe two additional yards outside of that. So that's even a bigger statement on how they feel about Antonio to even extend the drive. They didn't even want to rely on Antonio to extend the drive. They put Jonathan Williams in and he executed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Jonathan Williams looked like a natural. Looked like a natural NFL running back. And again, I just have never thought Antonio Gibson has looked like that. So he had a long of 4. Antonio Gibson had a long of 4. He had 2 yards total. So that means he was 3 for -2 yards. That's what that means.
Right. Well, the fumble was obviously a negative play.
Yeah, but I'm not sure.
So,
I don't know the answer to this. Maybe one of you guys knows. If you fumble on a play, are you credited for the yardage before the prior to the fumble? I'm not sure.
I would believe you are.
I think you are, but I wouldn't bet my life on it.
I think you
but
are.
And like Jonathan,
that's one of those stats that's like different in college
yeah.
versus the NFL too.
Jonathan
How they
Williams
count
had a
that.
long of 13. Which means he was 4 for 19, which is pretty decent, or 4 for 18 rather. So he looked great. I thought he acquitted himself well. He ought to be proud of himself in terms of where he stands with the team. And Jared Patterson needs to be nervous. He really does.
Yeah, well, and Patterson played okay when he finally
At the
got
bitter
into
end of the game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But I always kind of assumed when they drafted a running back, last draft, like it was not going to go well for Patterson there. Because he struggled last year too. He didn't.
Yeah, I
play
mean,
very
and
well.
listen, they've got 7 on the depth chart right now. They're not going to keep more than 4 at most on the active roster,
7.
maybe 3.
Sure.
And you gotta, Brian Robinson's a lock because of his draft status, and J.D. McKissick's a lock, and so they're really fighting between Alex Arma, Reggie Bonifon, Gibson, Jarrett Patterson, and Jonathan Williams for 2 spots. So it's 5 people for 2 spots.
And you got to assume Gibson's still pretty much a lock, even if he didn't play well at this point.
I mean, yeah.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. I mean, I can't honestly. I mean, he's in year 3. He was a 3rd-round pick, but what if Jonathan Williams really balls out? Then what?
Yeah. Then Jonathan Williams might be able to beat him, but Jonathan Williams isn't exactly, he isn't
Every
signed to a
year,
long-term
there's
contract.
somebody who
He's on
comes
a
out of
longer deal.
nowhere. Every single year. For every
guess
team.
so.
Jonathan Williams, for those of you who don't know, I think we mentioned this. I know we mentioned it on our position group breakdown, but
Yeah.
5th-round pick by Buffalo in 2016. He's been around a little bit out of Arkansas.
Yeah. He's 28 years old. That's, I guess as your 3rd running back, it's not the worst thing in the world.
But anyway, so that's running back. So I would like to get to quarterbacking because I know
Yep.
our beginning chat took up some minutes. So I was unimpressed with Carson Wentz personally. He dinked and dunked his way a little bit down the field. He did have a couple attempts, at least one attempt downfield. He didn't impress me. He didn't offend me. He looked like a guy, mainly to me, which was what I thought he would look like. And I know there's a bunch of sycophantic Washington fans out there who are offended that he's critiqued. Our own David Earl is a fan and has written a bunch of columns around him and stuff. But that's about what I thought we'd see out of Carson Wentz, to be honest. And listen, the starters got beat. 10-0.
Oh yeah,
They didn't look good. No.
they did not look particularly good. Here's the thing I'll say about Wentz. You know, there was this big thing that happened. What was it? Friday, I think, where Scott Abrams of ABC7 sat down with Wentz and asked him two, I would say, medium-level questions about accuracy. There are people who act like the questions he asked were the hardest-hitting things they've ever seen.
We'll get to the
They're
Jason
not.
Wright stuff at the end of the show.
Yeah. We'll get to that later. But 10 for 13, yeah, he's dinking and dunking, but that's how you get a high completion percentage these days anyways. Anybody
Kirk
who's got
Cousins
over a
says hello.
65% completion, yeah. That's how everybody does it in the NFL. Even the most elite quarterbacks in the league don't not dink and dunk to get
Tom
those
Brady has
numbers.
made an entire career out of that.
Exactly. Tom Brady's done it. Aaron Rodgers does it.
Yeah.
I don't knock these guys who, play
Shoot,
that
Pat
way.
Mahomes do it too. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
understand. Like he goes deep for sure, and he got the arm to do it. But like a lot of their Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, because of how fast Tyreek Hill was, like he played a lot off of his speed, and that was impressive. Go ahead. Steve,
Well, I'm
you
not.
go ahead.
I'm
I'll
not
say something
knocking
after.
him for dinking dunking necessarily. I guess my point is, he didn't really impress me, and he didn't offend me either. He just looked. He looked okay. I didn't think he looked great. At the end of the day, he didn't get it done and didn't score any points. So it's only the first game. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. I do say I was impressed that the starters were even in for two series. I didn't really think they were going to even get in that long.
They were in for almost the first.
Yeah,
full
basically,
quarter,
and
yeah.
So yeah, I think Carson's going to have to get better, but he has time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't upset with how Wentz played. It's not like he.
I'd give him a
looked
B-
lost
or a
anything.
C+ or something. He was okay.
Yeah, he's fine. He had that really nice throw to Terry McLaurin, which I think was on their last drive with the starters, where Terry, caught something at 15 yards, put another 10 on it, something like that. It was
How
a
did
really
Jahan
nice
Dotson
little
not
play.
get a single target? Can somebody explain this to me?
he did.
I
He
don't
did.
know.
He got a target down. Yeah, he got a target. So remember the holding that was on Terry. I mean that the holding call on the DB that was
That's
for
right, he
Terry
did.
McLaurin. Carson targeted Jahan downfield, and
yeah.
they misconnected. Yeah, that was the only target that he had, though. That was the only target.
Yeah, that was kind of a, hey, I already see a flag happening on this side. Let me just see if I can get
Let's
30
launch
yards
it.
on the other side kind of thing.
Yeah. So for me with Carson, I understood I actually agree with Steve in that he was unimpressive, but my unimpressive, and I don't think Steve was saying this either, but my unimpressive isn't a negative term. It was more so, he's just a guy where he was within the flow of the offense. And to be honest with you, I think he was in the flow of the offense to the point where he wasn't sure if he should be even attacking downfield. Like he was too comfortable going to the tight ends. Like he didn't even it didn't look like he gave plays a chance to develop. He was dropping back 2 seconds after he's dropping back, he's looking for Armani Rogers. Like Armani had, I think, 3 or 4 catches in little yards after the catch because of how quickly the ball was going to him. The routes wasn't really developing in the way, in my opinion, and this is all from TV tape. It's not even coach's film because, it's just after the game, but the way it looked, I don't think there was anything to see downfield where he can say, all right, I'm letting this play, get this receiver open or get this slot man open. The only other person that they targeted in terms of receivers was Curtis Samuel, and that was a bubble screen or a receiver screen. And they targeted him like within the first 2 plays. So it was interesting to see how everything unfolded for Carson Wentz because it wasn't like they said or it wasn't like they dialed up shot plays, or maybe they did, and that's what the result was. Like, I don't care about this shot. I'm gonna make sure that I look for my tight end. That's also a guy that we know in years past that Carson relies on a lot is his tight ends. So that may bode well for Cole Turner in the future presence. So
Yeah.
I was a bit surprised that Armani Rogers was. Sorry, I tried to mute my cough, my sneeze.
Oh, that's gonna sound interesting.
I hit mute really at the bitter end. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw it.
No, anyway, so I was a bit surprised that Armani Rogers was the next man up. I kind of thought John Bates would have been, just because he's been here a year and all that.
Yeah.
I was a bit surprised that Samus Reyes didn't even sniff the field as far as I saw. That surprised me. But Armani Rogers, I mean, he's, as of now, is the number 2 tight end. And I noticed that Logan Thomas was singing his praises in a sideline interview, too. And Rogers, undrafted free agent out of Ohio, never played before. He clearly has shown something in preseason.
Yeah, I guess so. And by the way, if Logan Thomas's voice gets any deeper, it would not be able to be heard by the average human.
Yeah.
Apparently, because he's just
It's crazy.
apparently
It's like the
lowest,
Barry White of
deepest
football.
voice. Yeah, exactly. Very.
I didn't know his voice. I didn't realize his voice was that low.
Nor did I. Yeah, but it was interesting to see Wentz. Honestly, Heineke did Heineke things. He had that interception. He runs around a lot. I've said before, I'm okay seeing as little Taylor Heineke in preseason as possible. I'm more curious to see Wentz and Howell.
I want to see Cole
These
Kelly.
are the new guys. Yeah, sure. I'd rather see that than
He's cut.
Taylor Heineke's going to be the backup. Just put him in tissues until we need him. That's
Did
fine.
you say Cole Kelly was cut?
So?
Yeah, they cut him. They already cut
Oh,
him.
I didn't
They cut
even
him last
realize
week.
that. Okay, it shows you
Yeah,
what
they moved on.
Oh, did
Yeah,
they?
they moved on from Cole.
shows you what I've been paying
Yeah.
Oh,
attention
okay.
So now we only have 2 Coles left on the team.
to. Cole,
No 3.
Oh, okay.
Cole Turner, Cole.
I didn't
Holcomb.
realize that. Well, forget I said that. Then it shows you what attention I've paid this week. Sorry.
Nah,
but
it's all
seriously,
good.
like Samus, wherefore art thou, Samus? I mean, I just
Right.
thought after a year maybe he would have it together enough to play more, and instead Armani Rogers took his job.
Well, I mean, look, we all knew he was a project.
Yeah.
So,
That, and on top of
It
that,
is
like
what
if
it
his specialty is all blocking, I mean, I don't. Do you really care to have Samus in when you got Carson Wentz out there? I don't care to have Samus in, and I also think it's interesting too. Yeah, I love the prospect of Samus early on because of like the basketball product, the 6'5", running a 4.5. You're an athlete,
Profile is
but
crazy.
yeah, a guy who don't really know how to play football. The more time that goes on, the more you understand that maybe yeah, it's okay if you have a role cut out for you. But let's see the athletes who can move and catch. Like Armani Rogers is a guy where I saw at FedEx Field through clips. I wasn't there, but through clips where his blocking was on point, and for him to get the starting nod, even though it really came down to just 2 tight ends, him and Curtis Hodges, it is what it is. But for him to get the starting nod over Curtis gives him that opportunity to play with the ones more often than not. So I was actually interested and happy to see that. Just to get a little bit more of an idea. And he did look natural, and they did target him downfield. Carson Wentz did. It was a bad throw or a bad decision. It was contested on that 3rd down that caused the first 3 and out of the game. They gave him that opportunity downfield, but it's good to see that he had 3 or 4 more additional targets that he actually didn't drop for a converted quarterback to tight end. That looked actually pretty fluid with his catching and stuff like that.
I gotta say, to be honest, I'm
Yeah.
a bit offended that I quoted Shakespeare and not one of you guys noticed.
Oh, I heard it. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't.
No, nobody cared. Okay, well, fine. Nobody cared.
I was like, all right. I was like, Steve got his own thing going on.
Whatever. My wife worked at Shakespeare Theater. I didn't care when I was there.
All
So-
right, fine. Never mind. Just stop.
Are we going to talk about Sam?
Yeah, let's talk about Sam real quick because, people do care about quarterbacks more than anything else, of course. It was a good little benchmark to see where he's at in his progress. If you think that he could someday be, a starting quarterback for this team, which is a long shot, he's got a cannon. I think that's fair to say. He's got a great arm. And he's got the athletic ability of Taylor Heineke, kind of. His running ability very similar to
Listen,
Heineke's.
not one thing of what Sam Howell did today surprised me at all. If you watch his college film, this is Sam Howell. He goes long stretches of being impressive. He'll do something inexplicable, He'll be inconsistent, and then he'll get back up to those high quality performances. If Sam could be more consistent, could have been more consistent in college, he would have been a much higher draft pick, I think.
Well, a year ago, or if he had gone out a year
would have
earlier,
been a higher
people
draft
talked
pick.
about him being
Yeah.
a first round pick. Yeah, people talked about him low first, second rounder, even maybe
Sam's
even
just
high
got to
first,
play.
You know?
He's got to play to develop consistency. That's the way that he becomes a starter. And maybe if it takes him 3 or 4 years and Carson Wentz moves on, because I don't think the team's getting rid of Carson Wentz anytime soon, even if because Ron Rivera's said it in that interview they played. They found their quarterback of the future and all of that. So they're not going to get rid of him, even if he's terrible, which he probably won't be. They're not going to get rid of him in a year. So give Sam Howell like 3 or 4 years. Maybe he will be starter level. I think he has the talent.
Yeah, I think Rivera is kind of tied to Wentz at this point in terms of that coach-quarterback combination. Whether they want it or not, that's going to be the guy you rise or fall
salary
with,
cap
so.
perspective alone. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
Ron's
yeah.
the one that brought in $28 million cap hit. So,
Yep. But Hal had a couple good plays. He had one really nice drive, I thought. Maybe you could argue both those scoring drives, but I thought one was really all on him. So, the defense. Let's talk about the defense real quick. I was not impressed by anything they did. The only guy who really, a few guys made some standout plays in the fourth string. Steve, you're talking about guys who stand out. There was one guy who I'd never heard of, number 16, who I'm now looking up, Steve Parker, defensive back.
You brought up a
6'1",
good point.
210.
I know nothing about these guys in the fourth quarter. I didn't know who the hell I was looking at.
Yeah, but that guy stood out a little bit to me. He had 2 or 3 big plays. Again, your fourth stringers against fourth.
Well, the other guy
stringers,
was
so.
DeJuan Neal, who had like the world's biggest hit there. That was good and fun to see.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Clean too. That was crazy.
It was a clean hit.
Yes. It was.
I don't know. Not too many people really stood out for me on defense, like you said. I thought Phil Mathis played pretty well when he was in there. And what was he? Second half, third quarter, I guess. Is that when he was out there?
Yeah. Late second quarter into the third.
Yeah,
sure.
I thought Drew White looked okay. The linebacker, he stood out. But really, not really anybody else really made a huge impression on me, particularly.
Not really.
They had once again. Carolina had a couple good runs against the ones right up the middle. They didn't stop them. That's been my fear all along with this defensive front is I think they are better against in the pass rush than against the run, and nothing they did today really convinced me otherwise.
Well, when you don't have enough guys on the second tier, that's what's going to happen. It's a simple building design. You have 3 tiers of defense. The defensive line, the linebackers, and then the defensive backs. You don't have enough guys at the linebacker level.
I hope it was not lost on everybody that the broadcast crew, the Washington broadcast crew, what network broadcasts this locally, Alex? NBC. NBC Washington published the defense as a 4-2-5. Did everybody notice this? Because they're recognizing that Washington does not have 3 starting quality linebackers.
Enough linebackers.
Which is really sad, and you have nobody to blame but Ron Rivera for that.
Yeah. It's I'm hoping this is just them playing very vanilla in preseason, but I'm not confident in that hope that that's the case because they looked
They better
soft.
hope Jamin Davis
I'll put it that way.
develops. If he doesn't, they're screwed.
I'll say 2 things because I want to make sure I get my player in that I actually I liked. But to Jameis's point, it was a bad look for him to miss that tackle on Baker Mayfield when he escaped the pocket. I think that was actually the first offensive drive that they had, and I'm not gonna say it's a bad omen, but it's a bad look for a guy in a position that he's in, where they talk about how He sometimes he takes bad angles. Sometimes he takes on blocks poorly. Not blocking, that wasn't a problem in that, but I'm talking about everything that he struggled with. Just a person who did have issues tackling, and then taking on blockers and even run fits as well. Like when you have that golden opportunity to line up and make a good play on the quarterback, and I think he got stiff armed, if not just completely whiffed on the tackle. A quarterback at that. A non-Michael Vick guy, like he's not that hard, he's not that elusive. It just wasn't a good look on him. Secondly, my guy that I actually think did stand out, because you already called out Phil, so I'm not even going to talk about that. I love Phil Mathis, but Daniel Wise on the defensive line.
Yeah,
Daniel Wise had a couple of good rushes. Like one of his actual sack that he had, he started off his rush with a spin move. The spin move worked against the first offensive lineman. And when he won against the first offensive lineman, he ran into another guy at the center. And then he beat the center to get past the center and make the play on the quarterback. That is a competitive level that I'm not going to sit here and exaggerate and say is one of the best that I've ever seen. But I will say, from a guy who is in the position that he's in, that he's not a starter, he's not projected to be a starter. And many people from a fan's perspective and from a reporting perspective was overlooking him because of all of the people in front of him. That is an incredible effort to have in your first game, to put yourself on the map. So I liked what I saw from Daniel Wise in terms of pass rushing. And that wasn't the only pass rush that he had that was effective. He got home on that one, but he got pressure on like one or two more. So Daniel Wise is a guy on the defensive line where I'm like, all right, cool, props, kudos to you. I'm paying attention.
Yeah, no, I left him out by accident when I was talking about who outplayed their position, their depth chart. He was definitely another one. I agree with you. He's one that stuck out in my head a little bit. I don't know. Not much else stuck out to me on defense. I got to be honest.
Yeah, it was not a great day for them. And I think we've kind of covered the offense. Some other things we should talk about. We should talk about the whole Jason Wright thing.
First of all, before you get to that, the idea that Joey Sly missed an extra point.
I ain't even out yet.
Doc Walker acted like that was like the worst thing he's ever seen. And we should bring up Doc. This was Doc's first time doing a
just the
preseason
biggest
game for
homer
Washington.
I've ever seen.
He was a homer, sure. I love the passion though, compared to Joe Theismann, who I think
Joey's all about Joey
point.
more than anything.
That might be fair. Doc at least was having. I think he was enjoying watching the games the whole time.
Well, I guess my point with Joey Sly is this is the year after they got rid of the guy who'd been with the team for like five or 6 years, and the very first thing you did in your first season as the no doubt kicker is you missed an extra point. It just wasn't it's not the end of the world, but it just, I don't know. Dustin Hopkins did well in San Diego, predictably, and here we have a guy who's missing extra points. That's all it's enough said. It's just one kick. It's a preseason game.
It's something to monitor. I'm with you. It's something to monitor.
Yeah. I mean, has any kicker ever really done great in DC?
Mark Moses. Dustin Hopkins wasn't okay.
Was okay.
Dustin Hopkins, statistically, is probably the best they've ever had. Now, understand that in generations past, like Mark Mosley would not be a kicker in the NFL today. Okay.
Oh yeah. No, if we're talking
modern era kicker, Dustin is the most consistent kicker they've had. The fans got tired of him, and I get it, but I don't know. I thought it was dumb to get rid of him.
Well, look. Kai Forbath was also one of the most
accurate
and
they didn't hesitate to.
He couldn't hit anything after 50 yards, but below 50, he was very accurate.
Yeah, he was. Chip Low-Miller is another one. Was good.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
There's something about FedEx Field. I feel like that it's just bad for kickers.
I just continue to not understand why they felt the need to get rid of Dustin Hopkins.
You know what's actually weird?
I know.
Ron Rivera has said, somebody asked him. Let me see if I can pull up. I'm going to try to hurry up while I'm talking too, so it'll mesh well. But Ron Rivera was asked about, what's the kicker that we got now named?
Joey Sly.
Joey Sly.
Sly guy.
All right, come on, Come on. Rivera, here he is. So let me see. He talked about Joey Sly in this one. No, it wasn't this one.
This
Was
is
that
called
August
vamping
11th?
while
Let me
he's
go
trying
down.
to find a quote.
Yes.
One more.
How
Let me
about
look.
that?
Let me look.
That's
This might be it
yes.
right here, because he talked about Joey Slye, and it's so funny. All right, so I'm a wing it because I don't have
Just
it.
wing it,
So
yes.
when he talked about Joey Slye, he literally talked about him this week. And when Rivera was asked about Joey Slye, he had said that one of the things that he likes about Joey Slye is that now, initially one of the things that he was focused on with him is that Slye was all focused on like not missing. Like when he kicked the ball, he did not want to miss nothing. That everything that came into Joey Slye's mind was about making the field goal and not missing. And now he's a kicker who trusts that he's going to make it. Like he's not kick. Oh, here it is. Oh, I'm so clutch. Here we go. All right, here we go. I'm gonna read it verbatim so it's easier because we're talking about him missing that extra point. Here we go. So this is what he said on August the 8th about Joey Slye. He said, well, I thought he did a heck of a job when we brought him in. He was solid, did some really good things for us when he kicked with confidence. It's a little different from when I had him in Carolina. He was kind of, if he hopes that he makes it. Out here, he knows he's going to make it. So when you have that kind of swagger as a kicker, it's a big plus. He has confidence. His kickers have confidence in him. I'll have confidence in them. It's one of those things that, clickers will flop around a couple years and a half, but then something clicks, We had Graham Gano. When I was in Carolina, he flopped a little bit, came in and started kicking with confidence. And then the resurgence in New York. Well, with Joey, I've seen a guy that bounced around a bit. Last year came in and there was confidence about him. You sit there. So you get excited about a Joey Slye. And I was like, he's talking about he's kicking with confidence. And I'm not saying that he doesn't have the confidence, but one of your first kicks is a miss.
Yeah.
It just goes back to
And
what
it's an
you're
extra
saying,
point.
and
It's not
you're
like
putting
you
your
missed
foot in
from
your mouth.
55. Yeah. That's something to watch. Hopefully that was just like a fluke thing. The special teams coverage units were not great either. Just keep an eye on that if you're into that.
Which
kind of
Alex
thing.
is more than anybody.
I am. No one else.
I
is.
was rooting
That's
for
fine.
Brian Johnson to be the kicker just because of the name. The lead
Yeah.
singer of AC/DC is a
Okay.
joke that keeps on giving for me.
You
do.
love your AC/DC. You love your AC/DC. It's fine. All right, so let's talk about some other stupid things that happened. The team announced that the new fight song is going to be "Fight for Our Commanders." Not
Can
Leaders on a
I,
Mission. Who cares? It's awful. No matter.
Yeah, I'd like
what.
to
Who cares?
express the depths of
Just
my
how much you hate
hatred.
it.
I am offended at like a very core level that this fight song exists.
Sure.
As a non-fan of the team, but as a huge lifelong fan of the Redskins, I am deeply, deeply offended that they took the great Hail to the Redskins fight song and tarted it up and stuck Commanders in it and made it worse.
Added
it's
beats.
just the worst.
It doesn't
It's
work.
just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
the absolute worst thing that has ever been recorded in the history of musical recordings.
And that includes a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
behind
it's
the
it's worse
is
than
impressive.
the Backstreet Boys,
scenes. Than New
Yes.
Kids on the Block. I'm just gonna name boy. We're just gonna name
have
boy
the New
bands.
Kids on the Block come in and do a song. I'd rather have that than hear that horrible monstrosity.
I would rather the Wiggles.
And
do
while you're
it.
talking about dumb things, I
I'm
also thought this new entertainment team looked terrible too. For what little we saw on the
Yeah, I didn't even notice. I don't pay attention to them. The other stupid little thing, they are doing the mascot vote.
Oh, I didn't know this.
So
There's a mascot.
okay, so the team is they're gonna have a mascot, but they're gonna let fans vote for it, and they're gonna announce
What
it
dumb
end of the
things
season
are the
or
choices?
mid-season.
Also, there's no mascot now. There's going to be at the end. It's going to
There's
be next
no
year.
official mascot now. They got to buy a plushie suit and put a person.
You know
in
why
it
they
for
have to have a
minimum wage.
mascot? Because the Commanders isn't a thing.
Right. So they are letting the fans vote. For the first vote is, what of these four themes do you like? Superhero, historic figure, a dog, or a hog?
Is there any? But I mean, there's only one choice there.
Wait, those are the real choices?
Yes,
If
those
I
are
was
the
gonna
choices,
vote,
and you can go to their
which
website
I'm not
to
going
vote.
to, but if I was, I think hog would be the only. If anything gets,
Yes, I've already
unless-
gone. I've already gone and voted for hog.
If any of
so
those other
I'm not
choices
gonna
get a
pretend to be
single
unbiased.
vote, I will be disappointed.
So I will say historic figure could, like, if you pick George Washington, fine.
That's not a football mascot, though. You can have a dude in a
No,
George
but-
Washington costume standing on the sidelines. That's crazy.
The baseball team does
And
it,
it's
so I'm
stupid.
not gonna say it's the end of the world. But people like it. It's for. Let's be fair. Mascots are for 5-year-olds, so I don't really care.
Just
too
bring
much.
a hog out there.
I just think stupid. Yeah, put a hog
Yeah.
out there and you're fine. You didn't need to have a
No,
vote
that's
on this.
just crazy. What is wrong with this franchise? Do they know how many people
they
they've
are-
driven away? Look, I noticed that even for a preseason game, there was nobody there.
Rick Snyder estimated
Oh man,
10,000
yeah,
people
it
in the
was
stands.
bad even for preseason.
Yeah. So that could bring us to the Jason Wright fighting with Scott Abrams thing. If you guys want to have any thoughts on that,
Yeah, look,
I thought the questions are fine by Scott. They're not that bad. Jason Wright overreacted, but I'm also not going to pretend that either is the end of the world. We're arguing about. Someone needs to tell Carson Wentz, hey, you kind of haven't been great.
I mean, I don't know if he has or hasn't,
So-
because I haven't really been paying attention, to be honest.
The beat writers say he's been pretty
Okay,
inaccurate.
but I did see that clip. I saw it on Twitter as I was posting, like our story or whatever.
Yeah, the 1 minute
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
I didn't. Yes, Scott Abrams was blunt. Hey, look, they got rid of you in Philly. They got rid of you in Indianapolis. What do you think about it? Yeah, it was blunt, but I didn't think it was anything to write home about. I think Jason Wright definitely overreacted to it, and I think he looked foolish trying to argue. What is the team president doing arguing about one question? Yeah, it's
From a
not like
local
he
news
said,
station guy
"Hey,
said-
your
yeah.
wife is hot." It was like it was a
Right.
legitimate football question, even though it was a bit blunt, and I thought Jason Wright looked ridiculous in arguing about it. But it's.
Honestly, hey, your wife is hot isn't even that offensive.
I mean, but
So-
you wouldn't say that in a
like-
professional
You ain't
setting.
gonna say, yeah,
That's not my point. That's my
No.
I'm in a space where, and I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but I am in a space because I didn't spend like 1,000 hours that I shouldn't have talking to people on Twitter who just really didn't understand the depth in which Jason Wright was wrong. I understand if you disagree.
Sure.
You disagree with. If you disagree with, Scott Abraham and his the way he phrased the question and how he painted the picture for Carson Wentz as he led into the question that he was about to ask, I understand that. But in that same vein, you can be as upset as you want with Scott Abraham, but the minute you leave up for interpretation, whether or not you meant exactly how it came across, but the minute you start talking about credentials and access and special privileges that reporters have, it don't matter what you meant at that point. People are going to take that the right people are going to take that the wrong way. And that is the firestorm that he started. That's another firestorm that Washington is dealing with. And Jason Wright said today, this is the day we're recording this on game day. So he said pregame that he's not regretting what he said, or he's not taking back, or he's not wishing he said anything differently. So I personally respect that he stood on what he said to Scott Abraham. But at the end of the day, and I'm glad he didn't delete anything. Like I respect that part even more. Like for people who think that I'm all on the reporter side, it's not even about the reporter. It's about what Jason said about credentials. Like when you restrict that access, or it comes across as you're threatening to restrict that access, that's where people are starting to get across. Like, bro, you are the president of the Commanders, and you're talking about possibly restricting access because somebody said something that you may have not liked from a team standpoint. And that's where I say, buddy, you have done too much. But I'm glad he stood on it, and I'm glad both sides stood on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Never apologize. Never, ever apologize for what you say and stuff like that. It's just, that's the worst thing you could do. Always stand by what you said. You bring up a good point I frankly hadn't thought about. And by the way, I give the credit for me noticing this. It wasn't Twitter. It was that somebody put it in our comment section. That's how I noticed it. But regardless, it's Wright's comments did make it seem as though what he's expecting is reporters who are credentialed to be nice. And that's not what they're here for, and it's not lost on me that they didn't credential the Hogsty, which has been relentlessly critical, over the past 2 years. And it gives you the impression that he based his quote Do you have it, Jay, right in front of you? Can you get it real fast? Okay,
I
I
can
want
find
to
it.
read the quote.
I'll look for it.
You talking about the original Twitter?
Jason's
response?
original
Yeah, the
quote.
Jason
yeah.
Wright original.
Because it really did give the impression that he was expecting reporters to be nice because the team had been kind and credentialed him. And that's not what reporters
got it.
are. That's not. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so thankfully, Carson demonstrated grace in class in response to this pompous, unprofessional mess. I recognize you have made a living on childlike provocation, but it needs to be called out. Don't expect special access, and good luck building rapport with the guys. Scott 7 News. So he's adding Scott Abraham. That's his Twitter handle, Scott 7 News.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous quote.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's ridiculous.
It comes across as very thin-skinned, and look, I work in the political realm. There are people like that in that world. I think the fact that people would act this way, we got to remember, this is sports. This is nothing serious. If I say something bad enough where Carson Wentz may want to slap me in the face, no one dies. I might get slapped in the face.
At the end of the day, it's football, for God's sakes.
At the end of the day, it's a game. Let's not pretend this is the end of the world that somebody said something.
And I'll tell you
to
the other
Carson
thing.
Wentz. And it wasn't
The other
even
thing that
mean.
went through my mind.
I've said more offensive things to Steve, who I like, than what Scott Abrams has said.
Absolutely,
to Carson
absolutely.
Wentz here. And
Again,
vice versa. Steve and I insult each other all the time.
It's all in good
just what
fun.
you
It
do.
doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean,
Right.
it was the question was not unprofessional. It was certainly a blunt question, but it was not unprofessional. Like I said, it wasn't. He wasn't asking about his wife's measurements. It wasn't unprofessional. It was just a tough question.
Right.
But the other thing that struck my mind, and this is what I did put on Twitter when I looked, isn't it ironic that the most unprofessional team in the NFL is calling someone unprofessional?
There is a bit of that.
No team has been worse to its employees and its fans than Washington, and now you're going to get on a high horse. I just thought that's kind of ironic.
Yeah, I mean, there is still a detachment, and there was a thing that came out. I didn't have this on my list, but the NFL had a report that came out this week that said like people inside the organization think they've made great progress in terms of reversing that toxic workplace internally, but it doesn't get covered publicly because they still have Dan Snyder, and Dan Snyder's still a hot dumpster fire of a human being who everyone wants to, see launched into
Alex,
the sun.
do you have
half
a
the
Dan
time.
Snyder yacht update?
I don't, because he's technically back
he
in the
is?
U.S. I think his yacht is still roaming around the tropics. Because don't forget, Dan Snyder bought that yacht and he had it flagged in a country where he doesn't have to pay
That's what
taxes on
everybody
it.
does
So,
with the yacht, so that's not...
yes, everyone does.
Yeah.
Everyone does. It's not unique to him. But so that yacht's never really in the United States. It's like
Who's
in
on the yacht, I
Caribbean or
wonder? Is it
something,
just
right?
floating around with the crew on it, and that's it?
Probably. Whoever he's got captaining it, and several hot stewardesses
Or
I'm assuming
hookers.
that's who's on it
Hookers
at
seem
all
to be
times.
more his speed.
Stewardess, hooker. It's just a question of when are you bringing drinks and what are you wearing.
Oh, man. For those of you who are flight attendants, that was an Alex's quote alone. It does not reflect the position of the hog's tie.
I watched that. What is that? There's a reality show about people who work on yachts. I don't remember what it's
Only
called.
you would know that.
Yeah.
I'm over here thinking hard.
I was
Only
citing...
thing I know is Flavor of Love. Flavor
God.
of Love is that's my thing right there.
Can I tell you the
And I
Flavor
love New
Flav
York.
story? Is that about
Yeah.
Flavor Flav? Is that what that show is?
Yeah, Flavor of
Okay,
Love,
so-
VH1.
I'll tell you when we can close the show with this. Back in the day, I was a roadie. And so
Right.
I've worked many, many, many concerts. And I guess it's inaccurate. I was a stagehand. And so I worked an Anthrax Public Enemy show at one point in time. And this is way back when
Right.
Flavor Flav was out of his mind on drugs. And so Flav...
Way back when.
Well, I don't know what he is now, but this is in the early 90s, and he was definitely out of his mind then. This man tried to shoot fireworks off in the theater. This is a 4,000-seat theater I worked at. Indoor venue, 4,000
I'm about
seats.
to say that's even crazier.
Yeah, and we had big name bands come through and everything. But Flava Flav was trying to, and not just like talking about it. He had him out and was actively attempting to light these things, and we had to send, come on, Flav, and we had to have somebody babysit him the rest of the day because he was so whacked out that he was ready to burn the place down by accident.
Now, you don't happen to remember what? Are we talking M80s?
I don't know.
I
don't know much about fireworks. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, regardless, even if it's a bottle rocket,
it's
I probably
anything,
would not advise.
Not a wise,
Yes.
but that's Flava Flav. That's my Flava Flav story.
Anything above a sparkler or a snake, I'm not putting off inside.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea.
That's my Flava Flav story.
Not
kids.
a good idea. But yes, I assume Flava Flav is still out
might
there.
be.
God,
Am I
God
wrong,
bless him.
Jamal?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Look, once Flavor of Love ended, I lost track of what that guy was.
Wasn't
up to.
he married to that enormous
he-
woman who was in the Rocky movies?
What?
Flava Flav, I think,
I
was
don't know.
married to the 6-foot-tall blonde woman out of Rocky IV.
I don't remember that. Is that
I
true?
think I'm not making this up. I'm almost positive he married her in the
This also sounds like the kind of thing that would have come out in the
Bridget
80s,
Nielsen.
and because there was
Hold
no
on,
internet.
Bridget Nielsen. Give us a second here. Let me.
All right, you want to look that up? All right, Jamal. Let's see. We covered the fan vote. We covered Jason Wright. We covered everything. Jamal, I do want to say, since we're wrapping up the show, it has been great having you on all these years. It's going to be a big hole for us to fill long term. That's going to be tough, but I'm very happy for you getting this shot. I think it's fantastic. So congratulations.
I appreciate it, and I'm not going to rehash everything that we said in the beginning, but it's definitely an opportunity, and it's all about taking shots. So I'm gonna see where it goes.
Right.
I'm gonna put my best foot forward like I always do, and go from there. But I definitely appreciate it. This is an excellent platform, and I'm never gonna take that for granted.
Yeah, Jay, best of luck to you, and we will certainly be rooting for you. And more importantly, in 2005, Bridget Nielsen had a highly publicized relationship with rapper Flava Flav in what has to be the strangest couple in American history.
That's a pretty weird couple.
It is, because she's
Let me look up who
taller.
she is. Bridget Nielsen.
If you watch Rocky
The
IV,
hot blonde from Rocky
Jay,
IV.
she is the female manager or husband of the Russian boxer, and she's like 6 feet
wife.
tall.
Here we go. Bridget Nielsen. Oh,
Flav.
I do remember her.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, to each their own.
Yes.
Whatever.
She was on the show.
Oh, she was.
Like, she made appearances. She wasn't like active, but she was on the show.
To each their own. Who far be it for me to criticize that they were into each other, whatever. But I just think it's kind of funny. That's all.
They are very much opposites because Flavor Flav is not a big
No,
man.
he's tiny,
he's
and he's a drunken, drug-addled rapper.
59. Let's see how old Flava Flav is. Why is it when I put FLA?
they're probably about the same
he's
age.
63. Oh my goodness, he is just annoying. Get this man off of my. Just looking at him, it just reminded me, like, come on, bro, like, you could do better for yourself.
How much of a cartoon
But think about it,
character of a
like,
human being he became.
bro, when in the show itself, and I'm done after this, but the show itself, like, when you see the women that was lined up to date Flava Flav, I know it was all for TV and money. It is what it is, but I'm just saying, like, you were willing to put yourself out there for Flava Flav and compete with all these women for Flava Flav.
Isn't it all hype,
And this
though?
man looked like that man was like, at the time, probably like 50, if not 45, looking like he was 70. Like, come on.
Wasn't it all just for
He
hype,
lived a
though? I
hard
mean, it could have
lifestyle,
been a
man.
real thing. I've never seen this show, but
One person really did like him. And that was it. I don't remember which one it was. Oh, New York. So I don't know if you all remember.
New
Like,
York?
I love New York. Her
Is that
name
a
is
person?
Tiffany Pollard.
Oh.
Yeah. So her nickname was New York because he gave all the girls on the show nicknames. Her name was New York on the show, but her real name I think was like Tiffany Pollard. So she had a spinoff. Hers was I Love New York, but she was the one who really loved Flavor Flav, and he chose like another girl or two other girls instead of him. I mean, instead of her.
what network was this show on?
Wow.
VH1.
There you go. No wonder.
Yeah, VH1.
Yeah. This was like the death throes.
They
of
used
It
to
was
be
the
good.
beginning.
This episode.
It was the beginning of. He started the those little reality dating shows. Like he was the initial.
Right.
That stuff was a hit. I even ordered the DVDs.
See, the rock and roll version of this show was Bret Michaels had this same show. Bret Michaels is the lead singer of Poison. had the same show.
No, they've redone this show 100 times.
Welcome to the
Oh,
VH1
sorry, it
hour,
must have
people.
hit. Yeah, I don't know.
We
Yes.
long ago.
I do remember. I know.
Behind the
I do
scenes.
remember. Now that I think about it, I do remember. It was like it was like soul or rock. It was something like a playoff rock music.
Yes.
And I remember that it actually played during the same time as Flavor Flav once. That's how I remember it.
Yeah. Yeah, there've been a lot of this happens all the time on TV. So we're not
We've
going to bore
jumped the
people
shark
with this.
tremendously.
Yep. All right, Jamal, congratulations. This is not goodbye, but we'll see you around.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah. All right, guys. We will see you
Rock of
all
love.
next week on the podcast. All of our listeners, as Steve and I are going to kind of change gears a little bit. We're going to figure things out.
You will now.
We'll talk to you later.
Next time.
Bye.
Rock of Love. That was it.